Today I want to show you how to use plugin presets to your advantage. Hey guys, Chris here from Mixdown.online. Now, if this is your first time here and you're into music production, mixing, recording, mastering in your home studio, click on the subscribe button below and the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Now, plugin presets. So what is a plugin preset? Basically, it's a recommendation from the plugin company to use on a specific task or an instrument and so on. There's some pros and cons on using plugin presets. First, let's look at the pros. One of the biggest advantage of working with a plugin preset is to go from point A to point B faster. Let's say, we want to load a medium-size reverb to our sound, okay? So very simple, you just load your reverb and then you just go and browse on the preset menu, looking for a medium size. So let's go into the medium menu and there you go. You have like a bunch of different presets you can choose from, which is very handy. So, you select whatever you're looking for. If you like to add a bit of kind of a medium room sound to your snare, for example, you select the snare, room sound, and there you go. It's loaded. You're good to go. Very quick, very fast. You don't have to tweak all of the settings, to get to that sound. You get to that medium size room sound quickly. So that is a very good advantage of using a plugin preset. You save time. Now, another very cool thing you can do with a preset is use it as a good start point. Okay, let's stay with our reverb example. Okay, like in this example, I'm using the FabFilter Pro R. And okay, I loaded that snare medium size room reverb. From that point on, I can, modify like settings, for example, the distance. I can bring the distance a bit further or closer if I want to. I can, just reduce the character knob, bring that sound a bit darker instead of brighter as it is right now. Just, can tone that down. We can play with the decay rate. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to craft that to your own taste and to your own need. So, using a plugin preset as a good starting point is a very good idea. I do it all the time, especially with these kind of plugins. Next, you can use a plugin preset as a learning tool. Very important and very useful. Okay, let's say I'm just going to open myself a compressor, okay? I'm going to open the FabFilter Pro C compressor. And, let me load one. Okay, we're talking about drums. Let me load a snare. Compressor, okay, natural sustain. I can actually look at all of the settings and try to figure out what they were trying to achieve with that suggestion, okay? In this case, I will mainly look at the attack time, the release time, the ratio and stuff like that. Study the effect it does to my sound, if I like it or not, okay? So this is the kind of stuff you can do to learn from the plugins, from the suggestions coming out of these plugin companies. Because, you have to understand that they know their product very well, and there's a reason why they give you these kind of recommendations. Okay, so use that as a learning tool, especially when you're starting. That can be very useful. Next, you can use a plugin preset as a creative tool. That will apply a lot with plugins like delays, reverbs, stuff like that, like flangers and all these types of plugins. Okay, I'm going to actually show you an example after we're done with the cons, okay? We're going to go back to that creative part, and I'm going to show you right after this what I did on this song. I used the preset as a creative tool. And you know what? I do that a lot, and it is very useful. In the mixing stage, it is useful in pre-production or arrangement. It is very useful when writing music as well, okay? You can play with delays and reverb effects, and that can inspire you while you're crafting and writing your song. Next, the cons, okay? Now, one of the biggest cons and the biggest disadvantage of using a plugin preset is the fact that a plugin preset is not always accurate. Let me give you the example of an equalizer. This is one of the plugin I actually don't suggest you to use the preset out of. EQ will depend on the actual source you have, on the actual sound of the recording, And it's very hard for some professional plugin designers to give you some recommendation on a female vocal EQ curve, when they don't even know what type of microphone you used, in which kind of room you recorded that vocal, and so on, the type of vocalist you're working with. Every vocalist has a different sound. You can take two female vocalists singing the same song, singing the same microphone, and they will not sound the same. And when it's time to EQ these tracks, you will not apply the same EQ curve on each of these vocalists. Okay, so that is a reality. That's the way it works with EQ. So it is hard for a company to make some recommendations on EQ curves, in my opinion. That's why I'm not a big fan of EQ presets. In the end, when you're shaping the tone of your sound, using these kind of presets can slow you down. If we're looking, for example, on a plugin like a compressor, a gate, now using a preset can be useful if we look only at the attack time release ratio settings. These recommendations can be useful and you can actually learn from them. Now, as far as the input signal coming into these plugins, now there's no way the plugin company can know how loud you recorded your tracks, okay? Put that into consideration when you work with a preset out of a compressor or a gate, okay? Same thing with a gate. A gate will depend on the input signal coming into that gate, to be able to work. So there's some very good settings out of a gate preset that can be useful, but you need to make sure you have the correct amount of signal coming in. And with the compressor, you're going to have to bring your threshold a bit lower, okay, to get gain reduction. So I would suggest you, if you're using these presets, use them as a learning tool or as a starting point. Now, I'm going to talk about my own experience. The stuff I do on my side, when we talk about compressors, EQ, gates, harmonic distortions, transient designers, all these plugins, I tend not to use presets. I'm going to use a lot of presets though on plugins like reverbs, delays, stuff like that, all special effects, flangers, and even, certain types of filters, guitar amplifiers, like a plugin like Guitar Rig, for example. Using a preset is very useful. And from that point, you can actually craft your sound. This is something I do a lot, with guitar amps and stuff like that. So that's basically what I do on my side. Now, let me show you what I did here, okay? So I'm just going to have you listen to that small part here. I'm going to focus on the electric guitar that is in the background. Okay, so I'm going to solo this guitar, okay? And I'm going to solo the send effect, okay? So now on that guitar track, there's not even a compressor or an EQ or anything. It's completely dry out of the amp, okay? I'm just going to bypass the compressor because that was used as an example earlier. Let's try that again. All right, now, if we look at the effect I added as a send effect, I added the Sound Toys effect rack, okay, which includes like a bunch of their plugins. So there's a lot of possibilities here, okay, with their presets. And what I decided to do for this guitar, I tried like several presets, by going to that menu and going down to guitar, and then, there was like a bunch of several presets to choose from. And I ended up, trying the Crystal Choir preset. And from that point, I customized it to my taste. So I played with a few settings here on the Echo Boy delay, the crystallizer, and I think I did something with the primal tap as well, which is another delay. And what I ended up with was this sound. So that's pretty cool. So I used that preset as a creative tool and as a starting point at the same time to get to a pretty cool sound. So if we listen in context, this is how it sounds like. So it sounds a bit like a keyboard in a sense, so it's pretty cool. Now, one last tip here. If you're using a preset as a starting point and you customize it to your taste, like for example what we just heard, you can actually save that preset as your own preset and use it in the future. So, saving your own presets and creating your own presets is something pretty cool too. So I really encourage you guys to learn your tools, okay? If you're new to this, use your presets as a learning tool, know your stuff, know your plugins, and you're gonna end up creating your own presets in the end. So my question for you, are you using presets? If yes, which kind of plugins you use presets from? Write this down in the comments section below. I want to have your feedback. And if you have any other comments or questions, you can leave them below as well. All right, guys, don't forget to share, to like, and to subscribe to this channel. Take care, and I'll see you next time.